Now, Ukraine has detained a 22-year-old Indian national from Gujarat who was fighting alongside Russian forces, the Ukrainian Army said on Tuesday. Now, that's not the story. The story is that this statement was released by the 63rd Mechanized Brigade of the Ukrainian Army, and the name of the gentleman is the Majoti Sahil Mohamed Hussein, a student from Gujarat. Now, he went to Russia to study at a university, and the story that comes out is that he was sentenced to 7 years in the Russian prison on drug-related charges. And his claim is that, which I'm putting on record, his claim is that he was asked to fight for the Russians if he wanted to come out of the prison. Let's play the bite.
Последними сентябрь я там полигоне был. И 16 дней там был, как держит, стреляли, раз, два, все. ТТФ-ке, вот как включать, кидай, все. И 30 сентября, 4 дня назад, мне привели зеленый лин. Следующий день, 1 число. Командир сказал, ну готов, мы 3 человека. Готов, приехали.
Now, on this issue, I'm joined by Julia Krill, Executive Director, BNK Agency. Madam, my first question to you is, it's unfortunate that, there are a lot of, Indians who have been conscripted, but it's also a story about the way Russians are fighting their war. They are forcing prisoners to fight their war.
Yeah, and it is a very common practice for the Russian Federation, because they are bringing in not only people from India, but also people from China, Nepal, North Korea, Iraq, African countries, Egypt, Kenya. There are so many stories by now released of prisoners of war who have been either tricked by the Russian forces to come and fight on the Russian side, or they have been promised vast amount of money to sustain their families, to sustain their lives. And this is becoming a widespread practice, as I am assuming that the people in the Russian Federation are refusing to either being conscripted, or Russia is losing people and they're trying to, go to the weak countries, to some of the weak partners, and this way support the troops and bring in the people. Then the problem is that these young kids they do not have sufficient training, they do not have sufficient resources, they do not have sufficient knowledge that they will be going to fight the war in Ukraine. And what they're doing, they are coming to the field, and then a few days later they find Ukrainian troops and they try to give up and to become prisoners of war in Ukraine in order to avoid dying on the field. And we've seen this with Wagner that have been doing the recruitment in Africa. We've seen these stories now in India. We've seen recently stories from soldiers from Egypt, from Kenya, who have all given the same kind of statements that they would rather stay prisoners of war in Ukraine than be fighting and going to die.
Julia, you stay with me. Let me play the bite of the gentleman's uncle that has come from Gujarat.
અમને જાણવા મળ્યું કે અહીંયા ખોટી રીતે અહીંયા કાંઈક ફસાઈ ગયો છે. હવે શેમાં ફસાણો છે સાહેબ એ ખ્યાલ નથી આવતો અમને. અમે ભારત સરકારને નમ્ર વિનંતી કરી છે કે અમારા છોકરા અમારા ભાઈ પાછા આવી જાય એમ. કેટલા સમય પહેલા ગયો હતો? 2 વર્ષ ત્યાં ગયો છે અને એ જોબ કરવા ગયો હતો અને કમાવા માટે ગયો હતો.
So, Julia, is it correct on my part to say that is Russia falling short of men to fight the war, and this is why this forced conscription is taking place?
I think so, yes. Also, because if you look at the types of the people who are fighting on the ground, these are the Russian prisoners and these are the international prisoners. And I wouldn't be surprised if some of these kids that have been some of the international guys who have been put in the prison in Russia, that the charges could have been, not fully accurate. And this is incredibly sad and concerning. And my understanding is that Prime Minister Modi has addressed the issue to Vladimir Putin, and I'm very curious to see if the conscription of Indian citizens will stop. But we've seen so many accounts of North Koreans, Iraqi, African people being conscribed, because this is much cheaper for Russians. They can promise good amounts of money without delivering that, and they are just ruthlessly using innocent people.
Is it also because of the fact that the conscription is not taking place voluntarily in Russia? Is there an assessment to that? That people generally at the time of war, nationalism, they say, well, we want to serve the country. That is not happening in Russia?
Well, there are still people who want to serve the country, and there are also accounts of Russian soldiers who are conscribing into the Russian army with the actual intention to experience killing and experience murdering Ukrainian citizens. But my assessment is that the numbers of fallen Russian soldiers are just not being accurate, and a lot more people are dying on battlefield than Russia is reporting.
Saying that it's is on the higher side, the entire deployment that has taken place of the Russian soldiers, the casualties on the higher side. Why do you say that?
Because if Russian side will be putting accurate accounts of people who died, they will be seeing very high losses, and people will be starting to understand that Russia is not winning this war. That this is the war of endurance, and whoever will endure for the longest will probably achieve some of their gains. But there's also risks of having people going into uprising as they see the actual amounts of casualties. And then Russia also has its partners that are supporting financially the war, and if they see the amount of casualties in military, in personnel, in equipment, then they will be understanding that Russians are not advancing as strongly as they are reporting it in their own news.
It's very ironic, even the soldiers from different countries have been deployed on the Ukrainian border, whether these are the soldiers from North Korea, which were widely reported by Associated Press and Reuters, and the forced conscription of poor people, though he has been serving a sentence in the prison because of a drug case. But the fact of the matter is that if you make it a policy that, if you want to come out of the prison, you need to fight a war, it's a reflection on the larger issue. Even if it is one case, it's creating a bigger picture. And thank you for joining me. If it is for this reason, yes, I thought, we can have a conversation on this, that wars have many dimensions, and this is one dimension of the war which is taking place in Russia, that Russia's conscription is an issue. And that is why people from different nationalities, if they are imprisoned, are being sent. And the incentive is that, well, that's the way for you to get out of the prison life or the sentence. So this is all I had on Point today. I'll see you tomorrow at the same time. Thank you.